Somewhere right now, a group of grown adults in matching jerseys is being studied like a science experiment. Not by fans, not by commentators, by scientists with spreadsheets, decades of match data, and a question that has nothing to do with luck. Which team should win the World Cup, according to the numbers alone? You would think this is impossible to answer. Football feels chaotic. A single deflected shot can end a nation's dream in seconds. But underneath that chaos, researchers have found something that behaves less like magic and more like a pattern. A quiet, predictable rhythm hiding inside one of the most unpredictable games on Earth. Here's where it gets strange. For decades, statisticians have tried to model football the same way physicists model weather systems. Messy on the surface, but governed underneath by rules that repeat. One of the most influential approaches came from data scientists at institutions like the University of Innsbruck and researchers publishing through outlets like 538, who built models using something called the yellow rating system. You've probably never heard the name, but you felt its logic your entire life without knowing it. Yellow ratings were originally invented by physicist Arpad Yellow to rank chess players. The idea is simple. Beat a strong opponent, your rating jumps a lot. Beat a weak opponent, it barely moves. Lose to a weak opponent, your rating crashes. Over time, this creates a number that reflects not just how many games a team has won, but how meaningful each win actually was. When applied to international football, yellow-style models take every match a national team has ever played, weigh the strength of the opponent, the margin of victory, and even whether the match happened at home or away, and compress all of it into a single number. That number becomes shockingly good at predicting outcomes. Not perfect, but good enough that statisticians have used these models to correctly forecast World Cup semi-finalists years in advance, long before pundits start arguing on television. So why doesn't the highest-rated team always win? This is where the story gets human. Political scientist and football analyst David Sumter, who has spent years studying the mathematics behind football using tracking data and modeling, points out something crucial. A single match is a small sample size. Even a team with an 80% chance of winning will still lose 1 out of every 5 times. Over 90 minutes, small moments, a lucky bounce, a refereeing decision, a moment of individual brilliance can outweigh months of statistical advantage. Think about it like flipping a heavily weighted coin. If a coin lands on heads 80% of the time, you would still expect it to land on tails now and then. The World Cup is one flip. Just one. And that single flip is why underdog stories are possible at all. But zoom out far enough, and the pattern reappears. Researchers analyzing decades of World Cup history have found that a small handful of factors consistently correlate with success far more than raw talent alone. Squad experience is one of them. Teams with players who have already competed in previous major tournaments tend to outperform teams with more individually talented but less experienced rosters. Pressure, it turns out, is a skill. And like any skill, it can be trained. Home advantage plays a role too, though a smaller one than most fans assume. Crowd energy, familiar time zones, less travel fatigue. These things add up to a measurable edge, but not a guaranteed one, which is why hosts have lost plenty of tournaments despite the boost. Then there's something researchers call squad depth. Essentially, how good is the team's 11th, 15th, and 23rd best player, not just its superstar. Tournaments are long. Injuries happen. Suspensions happen. Fatigue happens. A team built entirely around one brilliant player often collapses the moment that player is neutralized, while a team with strength spread across the roster keeps performing even under pressure. This is why, statistically, the best team on paper doesn't always match the team with the most famous names. It matches the team that can absorb chaos without falling apart. Here's the twist that changes how you'll watch every match from now on. Even with all of this data, researchers who build these predictive models will tell you something surprising. Their own forecasts are humble by design. The best statistical models in the world typically give even a heavy favorite only a 30 to 40% chance of actually winning the entire tournament. Not because the models are bad but because football has an unusually high level of built-in randomness compared to sports like basketball, where the better team wins far more predictably. In other words, science can tell you who should win. It just can't promise that the ball will listen. And maybe that's exactly why billions of people still watch. If the outcome were purely mathematical, if the numbers guaranteed the result before a single whistle blew, you wouldn't feel your stomach drop during a penalty shootout. You wouldn't grip a stranger's arm during stoppage time. The uncertainty isn't a flaw in the system. It's the entire reason the system captivates you. So the next time you hear someone confidently declare which country is destined to win, remember what the researchers actually found. Statistics can narrow the field. History can reveal patterns. Yellow models and squad depth analysis can tell you which teams are built to survive pressure. But the tournament itself will always leave just enough room for chaos to write its own ending. Which means the real answer to who should win the World Cup isn't a single name. It's a probability, a shifting number recalculated after every match, always leaning toward some teams more than others, and always leaving the door open for the one thing no equation has ever fully solved: the moment the ball actually leaves the ground.